Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Mystery Writer speaking, and welcome to the review of Pixar's Onward, released earlier in 2020. Now, this is actually kind of a special film, which is why I am taking the time to review it in video form. Not only was this film the first fully high fantasy based one released by Pixar, and yes, I know Brave was fantasy based as well, but let's not forget Onward is more like Lord of the Rings, while Brave is more along the lines of the fantasy seen in Sleeping Beauty and Tangled fairy tale stuff. Anyways, but it's also one of the many films that were released at the worst possible time, just when quarantine was enacted in America. Yeah, the box office performance for Onward suffered greatly because of the onset of COVID 19, along with other films like Bloodshot and the many other films postponed to a later date. Not only that, but Onward was actually the last movie I personally got to see in theaters right before things got even worse where I lived and everything started to close down. Don't worry, I made sure to practice social distancing while going to the movie theater by going to a 10 o'clock showing of the movie and being the only one there. Because of a mixture of things from the COVID 19 outbreak to the subsequent quarantine, Onward was not Pixar's biggest success, being only the second Pixar film to date to have flopped at the box office along the likes of the criminally underrated yet slightly bizarre and dark The Good Dinosaur. This is a real shame because Onward was actually quite good, and a majority of critics agree with me, as the film received almost universal praise, with receiving an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 61% on Metacritic, with an Internet Movie Database score of 7.5 out of 10 in audience reviews. That's kind of a big deal. That's the kind of quality you can expect from Pixar. Now, the movie is about two elf brothers named Ian and Barley, played by Tom Holland, aka the new Spider Man, and Chris Pratt, aka Star Lord, Peter Quill. That guy. On Ian's 16th birthday, their mother, who is dating a centaur that is also a cop, okay, gives Ian, now that he's a man, a present from their father who had died before Ian was even born, and who Barley only has a handful of memories of, seeing how he was very young when their father died. It turns out to be a wizard staff with an ancient spell instructions and what is called a phoenix gem. The spell, with the gem to serve as a power source, will bring their father back from the dead for 24 hours. Barley, who is crazy about D&D, or rather the legally separated role-playing game based off the forgotten history of this fantasy world, steps up to the plate and tries his hand at it. Apparently, as seen in the opening montage, the world this film is based in was once filled with magic and adventure, but as time went on, magic proved too hard to learn and made way for technology which made life easier. Yes, that is pretty much the gist of the entire scenario. It's not further explained, more unfortunately, playing second fiddle to the story of the Elf Brothers and their journey to, well, you'll see in a minute. But it does make for an interesting setting despite some inconsistencies. For example, around the middle of the movie, Ian Barley having been shrunk by accident after his car ran out of gas, run into a biker gang of pixies. Barley tries to talk to them about their ancestors and their history, seeing how they used to fly, but not anymore, which is weird because we literally saw a pixie fly to the airport in the opening montage. Despite these inconsistent plot points, they're relatively minor in the grand scheme of things. Anyway, back to the main plot. Barley tries to cast the spell but is unsuccessful, and he and his mother leave Ian alone in his room. Ian then plays around with the wizard staff and casts the spell, accidentally discovering that he has magical powers. Barley barges in upon hearing the commotion and cheers on his brother to finish the spell, but Ian doesn't believe in himself, and the gym shatters. Once the dust settles, the brothers discover that the bell worked halfway. Yeah, as it turns out, only the bottom half of their father, aka his legs and crotch, was successfully summoned. Now Barley and Ian are now on a race against time itself, as they only have 24 hours to find another Phoenix gem and finish the spell. They must go on a perilous journey of self-discovery and bonding, meeting various characters such as Corey the Manticore, played awesomely by Octavia Spencer. You can never go wrong with Octavia freaking Spencer. And the aforementioned Pixie Biker Gang, among others. All the while, they are being chased by the Centaur caught boyfriend and their panic-stricken mother, who teams up with the Manticore once she realizes that she forgot a certain curse attached to this Phoenix gem that she told the boys about. And apparently, anyone who takes the gem will be the target of the curse. Yeah, she was probably too busy suffering from an identity crisis and burning her own tavern to the ground to mention that little tidbit. And that's all the plot I'm given for this episode. The rest, I think, should be up to you, the viewer, to discover while watching it, because it is worth it. While the COVID-19 outbreak was certainly murder on the film's overall box office return, with a budget of a whopping 175 to 200 million and only ranking in about 103 million worldwide. The film was made available on Disney's streaming service, Disney Plus, and will be released on DVD and Blu-ray May 19th. So, what are my final thoughts on the movie? I honestly thought it was great. Of course, Pixar hit it out of the park with the visuals. The textures, the animations, the colors, the art design were all fantastic and felt very organic, to the point where it almost felt real, especially in some of the later scenes in the movie where the brothers are out in the wilderness seeking the Phoenix gem. The voice acting was impeccable, with Tom Holland and Chris Pratt not only being in their elements playing the kind of characters they are both known for, Holland playing the shy, awkward nerd, and Pratt playing the overconfident boaster type of guy. But they also had a great chemistry, which really sold the fact that they were brothers, which really gave the story life. The characters were great. And for those who didn't see the movie because of the infamous gay scene, I got news for you. It really wasn't that big of a deal. Disney was just trying to make it a bigger deal than it was, as it was just one really minor character that's only in the film for like 1 or 2 scenes, mentioning her girlfriend had a kid. That's right. It's not some major character kissing someone of the same sex. It's just a mention, a single throwaway line. What's there to be offended about? If anything, I'm disappointed. Why did everyone get so offended over this? From how some people acted, it was like the end of the freaking world. Oh no, we can't have a gay character in a Disney movie. Who will think of the children? Yeah, here's the thing. Disney has already done it with shows like Star vs. the Forces of Evil, and to a greater scale. Heck, Steven Universe was a better representation of the LGBTQ community than a single line in a Pixar movie, and the corporation behind it trying to pass off like, look how supportive we are of this interest group. Yeah, Disney, call me when there's a real important character that's homosexual in one of your animated movies. Until then, I'm not buying this baby step crap. Your TV shows are more supportive of the LGBTQ community than your movies. What does that say about you, Disney? You had a same-sex couple kiss in the background in Star vs. the Forces of Evil, and the best you can come up with is one guy in Beauty and the Beast dancing with another guy without saying a word of whether or not he's actually gay, and a single line that was not only practically a throwaway line, but one so easily edited out it was deleted from the Russian version of the film? Again, let me know when the real representation comes, please. Thank you, Disney. Now, of course, the film wasn't perfect. I did mention some inconsistent plot points, like the pixies not knowing how to fly or not. And yes, there were a couple of times the film got slow and boring. But there was one scene that definitely felt like it relied too heavily on exposition. Basically, coming off more as an exposition dump, the more that I think about it. The scene in question is when Barley admits to Ian that he has a fourth memory going through most of the movie, saying that he only had three of their dead father. The last memory of their dad was in the hospital, and Barley was given the chance to say goodbye. But he couldn't make it through the door because he was too scared. Now imagine a scene where you see little Barley, 3 or 4 years old, holding his mother's hand while he is about to go through the door, seeing his father strapped to all manner of machines and hoses, but finds himself too scared to go through the door, to go through it, to just say goodbye. See the tears in his eyes as he runs away. And how did this movie show this scene? By simply having Barley tell the story to his brother while the camera slowly pans towards his face. Yep, that's how they done it, folks! Don't get me wrong, it's still a very powerful scene, and really show a more vulnerable side to an otherwise tough, outgoing character. But because the scene relied on being a practically an exposition dump, it robbed the audience of an even more powerful scene of actually seeing it through little Barley's eyes. I mean, for crying out loud, we've already seen a scene like this in the beginning of Up. Why not in this movie? Plus, there was one predictable moment in where Ian stares at this painting of the school mascot, a dragon at the side of the school, for a weirdly long time for seemingly no reason. Oh, wow. It's not like that will somehow have something to do with anything later on in the movie. Oh, wait, what's that? The curse allows that painting of a dragon to come to life as a stone dragon, practically being made up of the rubble from the torn apart school. Who would have guessed? It's not like we had any sort of obvious foreshadowing earlier in the film. Oh, wait, we did. Yeah, but overall, the film was really good, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. For the world setting, the characters, the amazing animation, and the awesome chemistry between the brothers. All in all, I really wish it could have done better because it was a worthwhile film. It's just a shame that it took a pandemic to turn people away from an amazing film. While I wouldn't say it was a home run, it certainly went far out in the outfield, and Pixar should be proud. I give this movie a total score of 4.8 out of 5. An almost perfect film, but because of a few minor issues like the obvious moment of foreshadowing and an exposition dump scene, along with some minor world building inconsistencies, I had to score the movie less than perfect. Well, that's all the time I have for today. This has been the Mystery Writer speaking, and until next time, sayonara.